Good evening and welcome to the stream tonight. We are going to be working on our render camera and which one we are switching on and off. So you can see from our map here that we have our teleporter and it is rendering the picture just fine for us. But what we need to do now, I can prove this is working fine because once this spins around we should see our square, and that is me, the square there. So you can see that there is me, the player, standing looking at the teleporter, but the problem is that it's showing us the wrong thing. Okay, because what we should actually be showing is this teleporter should have a duplicate. Okay, and this is for testing purposes, of course, and we're basically going to move it to over here. In fact, what we'll do is we'll set it up over on this side of the map, and we shall copy a straight to finish off where this is going to go. Okay, so we'll drag that into position. And in fact, I'm going to delete that. I'm going to select that. I'm going to change this to 50 units. And then we're going to duplicate it. Okay. So now that that's duplicated, what we'll do is we'll move it into general position, then we'll spin it around, and then we'll fix it in the final position. Okay, so we are now done here, and we have our teleporter. Now our teleporter is way too far out, but that'll actually do us, right? Now we're going to have it at TP index 0, so its partner is over here. Okay? But, and here is the kicker, right? When this one activates, we don't actually activate this one, we activate its friend. Okay, So we get this. And we're going to duplicate that, right? And then scene component 2D, right? And we set that to there. We set it here. And we set it here. Then we delete that. And we do the scene component again. Then we plug it in there. Plug it in there. And we plug that in there. Okay. And if my logic holds out here, this should work. Right? So let's try it, shall we? So this one should show the one down the corner, right? And in fact, we shall move it down a bit, right? And what we'll do is we'll throw a cube down here. Right? And our camera, when it turns around, should see the cube. Okay? So we'll give the cube some sort of a, not that. Right, we want something fairly light here. Yeah, that'll do. Right. So there we go. So you'll see that that's shown as that one, right? That's shown as the right one there. Hey, on our Demerci. Right, so now we're just getting teleporters to show what they can see. Now this could be used, actually, you know what guys, this could be used for security cameras if you had security cameras in your game. It just so happens that I'm using them for teleporters, right? So we are actually looking down the corridor here. Okay, so if we look at this one, right, you can see that we're going to see a painting of the ship. Okay, so if we now go to this one, this is going to show us where you jump to, and there is our picture of the ship, right? there we go. So that is working absolutely fantastically, and I can't believe it. And this one is going to show us the gold cube, right? So that's working perfectly. And now what I would say was I just need to adjust what this teleport looks like, right? So I can actually jump to the cube, right? So if I press enter, there I'm at the cube, right? How did I make the map system? Well, the map system is basically made up of, at the moment, 5 parts, or is it 6? Can't remember. Right, I'll let you see. You need a ceiling, you need a floor, you need walls, and that's, well, that's not quite it, but that's the general system, right? And then you work out how you turn and how a layout will look, and then what you end up with is 5 parts. You end up with a 4-way interchange, you end up with a door, you end up with an end part, you end up with a straight, a T-junction and a turn, right? And basically this whole map is made up of just those things, right? So like here I've got a door, here I've got a door, here I've got a turn, 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 straight, straight, turn, straight, straight, door. Could have been a T-junction, that's a T-junction, right? And then you just make them all fit together basically. So if I drag in a straight, there we go. So as I was saying, this is a T-junction and that's the straight I just added. Now these pictures and lights are all procedural, right? So it'll either draw a light on this side, and if it does it will remove the picture, and then it will decide whether it wants to put a picture or a light on this side, right? These ones are slightly different. These are the pickups, right? And each part has a master class where you can pick which pickup a part of the map has, right? So it can have a mini-map pickup, a stun pickup, 0 pickups, or a speed, which would be the normal pickup, okay? So I can basically set this to have whatever pickup I want in this square or in this part. Now, I am working on other layout parts so that you can actually have a room, okay? Which requires me to do some more stuff, but I'm gradually working on it. And then each part has a minimap block part, right? Which is basically what you see on the minimap, right? So you don't see any of this, the actual parts on the minimap, because it blocks them all out. It only shows these parts, which is basically the lines that make up the route of a building layout part. So if the easiest way to explain it is, it has a line down here and it has a line down here, right? So that's how that's done. Or that's how I did it. I'm not saying any of this is the way you should do it or the best way to do it or whatever, but you'll notice when I pick up the minimap, our minimap comes up and we have basically the minimap, right? Okay, the carpets are put in procedurally as well. As you can see, we have this, and then we have a door, and you can go through the door and it still shows you all the minimap and stuff. Okay, so that's basically how the map's done. And for those returning, I think I have solved the minimap issue, sorry, the pickup issue, right? I had an issue with the pickups that it wasn't counting them properly, and I believe I have fixed that problem. And we can't get past that to get to our last pickup. Right, so we need to delete this. Right, but I want to test this again anyway. Right, I haven't brought any bad guys in yet. They are in the game, but they're not actually they're not in the map yet, because I wanted to be able to run around and check the count. Right. So we've done that bit. Now, have I missed a bit here? Right, or is this count went off again? No, the count hasn't went off again. We have 4, so when we count this out, 3 and the final one, blammo. Right, that jumps us back to our main menu, okay? So that's cool and working. And as a little test, I want to check something that I worked on last night. I want to check the gameplay settings. We know that the head bob was enabled. We haven't actually done these yet. We can do those in a minute. Right, but what I want to do is I want to allow look up and down and head bob. Right. So what you do basically is you come in here and this is your level select, okay? And then if it's a level, it does that and you can enter. So it comes up with the level name. And then this is just a picture, so nothing happens. But here, obviously, you've got your enter. And actually, you know what? Yeah, you see I can look up and down. And the bob is working. So that's cool. Right? Now, we want to exit that. We want to go back to our options, gameplay, disable them, close that, exit the game. Right, that was because of the teleporter inside the actual gateway room, so I'm not going to worry about that. And I didn't want to do that. Actually, you know what? What I can do is, if I hit 1, crap. What effect is that? Because that was cool. Right. I don't know what's going on there, because the Pawn Chronicles should have had a pause menu, right? Because I made a pause menu last night as well. It's a very simple one because this game doesn't need anything particularly drastic as far as that goes. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to cancel that, right? And we're going to get rid of that teleporter in the gateway so that we don't get any more stupid errors. Right? So that's us done there. Okay. So, with that in mind, we save that. Then we switched off head bob, and the other thing. So you'll notice I can't move it up and down now, and there's no head bob, right? Which is what I want. And that's all saved in the game settings, so that's cool. We can jump into the level. I get asked this question every other day. Right? Now, I'm going to give you an example. Right? Now, I kind of been doing this for a little while, so I can kind of fix problems now and again. But here's the rub. If you want to make a multiplayer game, you probably need you need Steam integration, right? Which I've already done on this particular version of the engine, right? But then I was wondering if the same thing was applicable to Unreal Engine 5. Right? Now, there's two things you need to add for like a multiplayer game in Unreal Engine and Steam. And that is, well, for your indie developer, number one, you need to switch on the Unreal Engine, the Steam subsystem, right? So that's fine, right? Because that's just a plugin setting, right? Which is in your plugins, right? So, for example, if you just type in Steam, you've got Advanced Sessions, Steam Audio, and then this one here, right? Online Subsystem Steam. Now, if you want it to connect to Steam and do nothing else, like not have an online game or anything else, all you want is like achievements and the very most basic of stuff, then this is the one you use, right? But if you want to use sessions and not just the absolute basic ones in Steam, then you need to use Advanced Steam Sessions plus there's another one called Sessions. There's one called Sessions and there's one called Advanced Sessions, right? So if I type in, right, it's these two here, right? Advanced Sessions, Advanced Steam Sessions, okay? Now, if you try to install that, at the moment, in Unreal Engine 5, it won't work. Right, now, I managed to fix it. But, for your person starting out and doesn't know an awful lot about Unreal Engine, well, my first question would, of course, be why are you trying to make an online multiplayer game as your first project? Well, that'd be the first question, but let's say you're past that point, then basically this won't work, right? So you can't use Advanced Steam Sessions or Steam Advanced Sessions, right? So you're screwed. Okay, now I went round it by doing a lot of searching and finding out what the problem was, right? And managed to get it to work. But for a new user in Unreal Engine 5, it ain't going to work. Now, and these aren't the only two plugins that aren't updated for Unreal Engine 5. Now, that is the first reason that I don't use Unreal Engine 5, right? Number two, there's too many niggly bugs, right? It's fundamentally, it's not ready yet for prime time, right? And basically Unreal Epic have told you that, right? Because they say do not use it for a commercial game, right? And that tells you all you need to know, right? Third reason is I don't use Nanite and I don't use Lumen, right? So that's basically Unreal Engine 5's advantages gone, right? But if you're making a game that can take advantage of Lumen and the other one, which can Nanite, then yeah, fair enough, right? But you got to remember as well, the code base for Unreal Engine 5 is 4.27, right? So using 4.27, you've got the same code base, but none of the problems. And finally, the fifth reason is it makes my computer run 10 degrees centigrade hotter. Right? Now, I'm sure in the future, Epic will sort all these issues out and there'll be no reason not to go with 5 point whatever version is the first one that is kind of usable. But until such time, I'm quite happy with 4.27 or 4.26 or 4.25, right? Depending on what the project requires, because there's some things that I know, like I used in my previous game on Steam, I used a scoreboard asset plugin that doesn't work on 4.26 or 4.27. So I have 4.25 as well, right? So I use 4.25, 26 and 27, right? But this isn't going to need online scoreboards, and if it does, I'm actually going to use Steam for that. So that's kind of out the window now as well, right? But in the meantime, we are happy with this, the way it's going. As I said, I've got to do a bit of work on this gateway, right? But fundamentally, it's all working the way it should work, right? And I need to, yeah, it's in the teleporter. Give me 1 second. I'm going to get rid of that print string. Right, so teleporter, let's pick up teleporter. Where's the print string? It's on a tick here, so get that out of there. That's us done. So there's two more changes I wanted to make that are dead simple, but I need to really make them, and that is for our pickups, right? Now if we go to the map pickup and go here, what we're going to do is we're going to move this along a bit. Oops. And what we're going to do is we're going to stick in a do once, right? Because what I've been finding is these overlaps have been firing more than once. right? And since this is a one-hit thing, well, thank you for popping in, Owner Demirci. Nice to see you. Hope to see you again at some point. Remember and hit the like and subscribe if you don't mind on your way out the door. As I said, thanks for watching. We're going to copy that, and then we're going to go from our map pickup to our stun pickup and do the exact same thing again. Right, because as I said, these are a one hit thing. As soon as you overlap them, you pick them up and they're going to get destroyed. So basically it makes sense to do once, basically, and fire and forget, right? And that'll be us. So, right, and for those still watching, my general idea on this, right, is see when I'm developing stuff, right, is, so for example, we'll go back to the map and look at our teleporter, right? Now, you guys can let me know what you like and what you don't like about the teleporter. Okay? Now, I've got to say it's pretty darn cool, right? Okay. So remember, this one we're looking down the hall, and actually we're looking at where you would jump out. Remember, the reason for these is so that you can see if there's a monster, right? So maybe we can do that a bit faster, right? But the way I'm looking at that, I'll tell you what, there's a directional light here that's been popped up. I don't know when I added it. I've obviously added it, right? But there's definitely, well, wait a minute, I know for a fact that I put a point light here somewhere. Right, there it's there. But I must have added a directional light because, well, number one, I can see outside. And number two, there's these lights that actually are showing through. Okay. Yeah, there is a directional light, right? Now, I put a bit of code in this level to basically kill that when we start. Right, now that's going to get removed obviously, but that should be setting the intensity to 0. So that when we actually start the game, that light should be off. Now, I'm wondering something. This is a weird one, right? We're not worried about this too much, but I just want to check it once, right? If I do it from here, is it going to turn that light off? That's the question. Yes, it does. Right. So that code actually does work, right? It's just the fact that if you do it in editor mode and you just run it from the level, then it actually doesn't run that code. I suppose has it got a construction script? probably. But then we don't want it because then it would turn it off here and we wouldn't be able to see what we're doing as far as the level goes. Right, now for those still here and interested, the previous chap was asking me about basically how I build the levels, and basically this is how I do it. I just grab parts, and I've got all the basic parts to make a level, right? And once a few of them are in, I can just basically cut and paste or duplicate and basically put them in, right? And if I need a new part, if I have this open, the layout parts, then say for example I need a 4-way intersection, I just drag it in, right? Pop the height to 0 and then drag it into line. And that is how we make levels. Right? But the thing is here, we don't particularly want, we don't want there to be too many big long straights, okay? So we need to break it up with turns and such. And that looks like a turn in the right direction there. Right? And normally with that turn, we can then do another turn. Then we can spin it 180 degrees, which is, I think, what we need. Yep. And then we can just plop it into place. And gradually, our map starts building out. Right? And now we need a straight. So we can copy and paste that in, or duplicate it. And from here we can, well, we can either drop in a turn or we can duplicate that one, right? And then we want to have a look to see which way this is facing, and that's facing the right way for us, so we can basically drag it over here a bit, then join it on here. Right, now I don't usually put them as close together as this, but I did, as I said, I don't want too many straights and too many big long straights. Right, so we can drag that off there, and that can go in there. And now, with the beauty of the system is that I can basically make quite big, significant parts of this. And then I think what we'll do here is we shall have a door. Now I am making different parts, guys, so that you can have it open up into rooms. But the first level is going to be this type of claustrophobic, tight corridors, all that good stuff. Type of a thing going on, right? And the great thing about this is as well, is if I press play, right, and I pick up the map, it tells me how many pieces I've got so far, 45, right? So that's quite handy. And this is the four-way. Is it? This is the four-way here. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag in a straight here so that I remember that this is the four-way. Right? And all I need to do is pop down to check that we're straight. Right, we're straight. And that's how the four-way looks. Right, so down here we can go to the left, it will take us to the right, and that's perfect. This one, if we go back to the four-way, this one's going to take us down to a door. Right, cool. And then the other way is just a straight through here. Right, so what we'll do is we'll pop in a turn. And looks like we need to drag it to there. And there we go. Okay. So that's all going nicely. Oh yeah, that's what I was going to talk about. Right. So what I was saying was, at one point I had the idea here for our, here's our teleporter here, right? I had the idea for a teleporter, okay? But I couldn't get this to work for some reason, even though I've not done it any different this time, right? But for some reason it wasn't working, but now it is, so okay, cool, that'll do, right? But what I might actually do here is amend this material, right, so that it's the shape of a door. Yeah? So that the teleporter looks like a door. Or at least looks like the shape of a door, like this. You know, it goes like that, but it's straight down. right? And then possibly, if we wanted to be super cool about it, we could actually draw like a spline that follows the outline of the door, and then make some sort of particle effect that travels along the spline or something like that, right? But as I said, I had made it like it was a red kind of a thing it did. In fact, let's switch it on again. Let's switch it on and see if it actually, how it's looking regarding that. Right, if we switch all of our effects on as far as the teleporters go, right? So if we plug that in there, right, I wonder. Right, I mean, if you make this number minus, then it goes from the inside out, right? So if I make that minus 0.5, save, right? But what we could do is take the opacity from here, save that, yeah, you just can't see that, can you? I think we just needed some other type of effect, because that's really now, it worked with what I was doing before, right? It was kind of like a red colour that expanded out like waves. It didn't have a picture of a render target or anything like that. But yeah, what I'm thinking of doing here is making that like the shape of a door. Right? But it's going to have some sort of outline to make it stand out. Right? But yeah, that's the ideas for that. If anybody else has got a better idea, don't hesitate to put it in the chat. All ears. I'm never dumb enough to think that I've got all the ideas. Or all the best ideas anyway. I come up with ideas, but that's not to say they're any good. Right? Sometimes come up with some good ones, but certainly not a guarantee. Right, that needs spinning round to there. Then popped into place. Then we're obviously going to need another one. And we'll be spinning that around 180. And that'll go in there. Then we can obviously add a straight. Then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to add a door. Right. So go to layout parts, door, there you go. Let's put it down to 0. Now we need to find out which way our door is facing, and it's going to be this way. Right, and then I think we're going to need another 2 here. This doesn't need to make, in fact, it's better not making any sense, this actual house, right? Because basically all I'm making here is Pac-Man. So it actually doesn't make any sense for this house to make any sense, right? So all of these joining up is purely so that the game is interesting for the player and they can see what they've got to pick up on the mini-map, right? And basically these parts are just facilitating that for the player. So as I said, don't worry about the layout of the route of the actual house making any sense at this point, because in reality it shouldn't, right? Okay, so now once again we can press play and we can find out how big how many pickups we've got, which is now up to 54. And these just gradually go up as you build it. I mean, it's not that time consuming really, right? And if I was to get a random map generator, then I could just basically copy it exactly, whereas here I'm just basically first thing that comes to my head. And I think with that, guys, we're going to call it nearly done for this part of it. I'm going to do another bit of coding and whatever comes to mind. What to work on next, I don't know. I've kind of fixed all the problems, at least I think I have. Right, and I believe that should go there. And now we should be able to join this up without too much of a problem at all. Right, so that's just joined those two up. That's cool. And we need a straight after that. Okay. And I'm going to go for a quick cigarette. So if you're enjoying the stream so far, we are a couple of subscribers short of 500, so I'd appreciate it if you hit the subscribe button. And you can check out the description for Discord and for supporting the channel. There's also links in there for Patreon and my previous game on Steam. I'm going to go and grab a cigarette. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back in 2 minutes. Alright guys, we're back and we're on 496 subscribers, so get that button hit. And we're going to do something. Right. We'll do a turn here again. And that's going to need turn 90 degrees. right? And then we're probably going to need interesting. Well, we could do it with 3, I suppose, right? So all we'll do is we'll drag in another turn, right? And it's going to get turned 180 degrees. Right, and as I said, most of these are going to connect up and not make any sense regarding an actual layout of a house. Don't worry about that. It's basically what we're trying to do is make Pac-Man, okay? So what we'll do is we'll bring this out one. We'll line it up properly, which apparently it was. Okay, that's something's went a bit weird there. Now this is the thing about it as well, is if it's not lined up properly, if one of them ain't lining up, then something's went wrong somewhere. So you kind of know, you're given a sort of idea that something's went wrong. Right, so that's going to go like that. And it's also quite handy that the mini-map also gives you an idea if there's something went wrong. And I believe that's right. And the idea here was basically to join these two up again with a T-junction. So once we've actually joined these up again, we can then split them up again. Right? So we duplicate our turn, and it's going to be like that. And as I said, we want this to be confusing for the player. Right, now this doesn't appear right, which it's not. Right. And then we basically have to join these up. So we need another turn. Now this kind of just gives me an ideas for other pieces that I need, right? Like a door with a corner on it and stuff like that, right? Right, because what I was actually thinking of was putting a door there. Right. So strangely enough, we could actually put end parts in here. We could like do a door and then do an end part. Or what I could do is I could put a straight in. Right, so let's do that. Right. And this is the part where we basically want a T-junction. As I said, this is just basically now giving me a guide to the parts that I don't have that I could use. Right? And the big example of that is a door with a corner on it as well. Right? And I think I'm going to do that at some point. Right, because it's really becoming quite apparent that I need it. Or at least I need a door. Right, so let me show you what a door looks like, right? Right, so this is what a door looks like, right? But what we really want to do is we want an end here so that you're kind of forced to go through this door, right? Or the door on the other side, so you're kind of forced to go through that side, right? So what we could do is we could get this door, duplicate it, right? And we could basically say door end, okay? That all stays exactly the same. We'll go to our viewport, right? So there's our door. And now what we want to do is basically copy one of these, right? So we duplicate that, right? We spin it 90 degrees, then we move it into position, and it's not long enough. Oh yeah, it is. Right? And I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to rename this to end A. Right? Hang on a second. Something's went wrong. We've moved this one. Right? So what we're going to do is we've got end A, right? And we're going to duplicate it. Okay. Then we're going to rename this one right to end B. We're going to spin it around. Okay. And then we're going to put it into place. Okay. Now, this is where the interesting part comes in, because in our code, we're going to go to our construction script, and we're going to say, we're going to set a variable called show A. Okay. Then on our construction script, we're going to grab end A and end B. Then we're going to duplicate them. Then we're going to grab, this is going to be instance editable so that we can see it. And the reason we put it in here is so that it's built at the time. So we'll be able to see which is the right one to take away. So we just say branch on this. And we actually don't need both. So basically, if it's true, right, we're going to destroy this component. And if it's false, we're going to destroy that component. Okay. So that gives us basically 2 more sections that we can use. So we'll do a save all, then we'll delete this. Okay, and we can do a door end, right? And we know that the door is actually on the other side here. And actually, that's basically entirely what we want. Or is it? Kinda not. Yeah, well, right, wait a minute. What we were actually going to do there was do a T-junction, right? Okay. And if we do the T-junction, then we can basically grab this, turn it 90 degrees, or yeah, we'd have to turn it either that way. Right, okay. We're cool with this. I'll show you what I'm figuring out here. Right, so this one, we need it to close off the other side. So we say show A, right? So that now becomes open at that end, but closed at this end, right? And then what we do is we duplicate this, we grab it onto the other end, right? And we're absolutely cool with that. That's not in line yet, but we'll sort that out in a second. That's it in line. And with this one, we close off the other end, so we just click on that, and that closes that. Right? So you come up this T-junction, right? And there's a door, and a door. Okay? Sorry, there's a door and a door. There's no 2, 3 doors. But what we could have done was just done a door here and then moved this down. Right? So let's see how much space we have here. Right, so we could do that, right? What we could do is we could move this along a bit. Then we could bring in a normal door. Right? Set that to 0. And I think this is when out of ski width. Maybe not. Maybe it's close enough. Right, we're going to have to spin it round. Come on. Play nice. Yeah, this doesn't seem right, does it? So 4800. Yeah, that's not right. There we go. Okay. And then what we can do, now that was a T junction, so we don't want that. But we do want this. Right, and then this can just get moved back into place. And now we've got a nice corridor with 3 doors. So we've got door and door and door. Okay. Now if we can press play, we'll see how many. This is probably going to be about 50 odd or something. Not too many. 73. Well, that's a jump. Right, and on that, guys, I'm going to call it a night. I have got 4. I've missed that for now. I'm going to call it a night, and thank you for joining. We're 4 subscribers short of 500, I believe, something like that. So if you've enjoyed the stream, hit like and subscribe. If you want to support the channel, check the description for the Patreon from as little as $2. And my previous game on Steam, which is a tower defense game, and you'll also find the link to the Discord, which you are welcome to join at any time. So once again, thank you all for watching. See you tomorrow, 2 PM Central. Bye bye for now.